By the time you're done watching this video, you will stop eating carelessly. Imagine being told that your best mama pot stand scratches her dead wound in her armpit into her stew. Her name was Mama Busy. If you walked through the market square at noon, you would hear it everywhere.
Have you eaten Mama Busy's soup today? Her stew is the sweetest in the whole town. No one cooks like Mama Busy.
Traders from far villages, farmers returning from their fields, travelers passing through, even chiefs and elders, all of them stopped at Mama Busy's small wooden food stall.
I can't get enough of Mama Busy's stew.
Mama Busy's like heaven.
Now I understand why my kids can't get enough of her stew.
Soup carried a smell that floated through the entire market, and her stew tasted so rich that people licked their fingers and plates clean. No one could explain it. Many cooks tried to copy her recipes. Some added extra pepper. Some added smoked fish. Some added special spices brought from Lagos. But none of them could make food that tasted like Mama Busy's cooking. It was different, strangely delicious, almost addictive. But hidden behind that fame was a secret no one in the town could ever imagine. Mama Busy had been selling food in the market for nearly 15 years. She was known for three things: her loud laughter, her generous portions, and her incredible stew. She was a large woman with round cheeks and bright wrappers tied tightly around her waist. When she walked into the market each morning before sunrise, traders would greet her warmly. "Good morning, Mama Busy. May your stew finish early today." She would laugh loudly. "Oh, if it finishes early, that means you people are eating too much." The traders would laugh with her. But the truth was, everyone loved Mama Busy. Even the chief of the town sometimes sent his guard to buy her food. And whenever travelers passed through Elaro, the first thing people told them was always the same: if you want to taste the best stew in this town, go to Mama Busy. But the strange thing was this: Mama Busy never allowed anyone inside her cooking hut. Not even her assistant. Not even her closest friends. Whenever it was time to cook, she would enter the small clay kitchen behind her stall and lock the door from inside. People noticed. But no one questioned it. Because when the food came out, everything tasted perfect. Among the people of Elaro lived a young man named Connor. Connor was not rich. He was not powerful. But everyone in town knew him for one thing. Connor asked too many questions. If something strange happened in the village, Connor would be the first person trying to understand it. If a rumor spread through the market, Connor would be the one trying to confirm whether it was true. Some people liked him. Some people found him annoying. But everyone agreed on one thing: Connor's curiosity was dangerous. And unfortunately for Mama Busy, Connor loved her food more than anyone else. Every afternoon, like clockwork, Connor would sit on the same wooden bench beside her stall. "Mama Busy," he would call cheerfully. "Add extra stew today." Mama Busy would laugh loudly. "Connor, if you continue eating like this, one day you will finish my entire pot." Connor would grin. "If the food tastes like this, Mama Busy, I might actually try." The two of them joked like that every day. But one afternoon, while licking stew from his fingers, Connor asked a simple question. "Mama Busy, what is your secret?" Mama Busy paused. Only for a second. But Connor noticed. "My secret," she repeated slowly. "Yes," Connor said. "Nobody cooks like you." Mama Busy laughed loudly again. "My son, the only secret is experience." But when she turned away, Connor noticed something strange. For the first time, Mama Busy avoided his eyes. That night, Connor could not stop thinking. He sat outside his small house, watching the moon climb slowly above the palm trees. Something about that moment felt wrong. Why had Mama Busy hesitated? Why had she looked uncomfortable? Connor remembered something else too. In all the years Mama Busy had cooked in the market, no one had ever seen her cook. Her assistant, a quiet young girl named Sod, only helped serve food. Connor had once asked her casually, "Sod, how does Mama Busy make that stew?" The girl had shrugged. "I don't know." "You don't know?" "No. She locks the kitchen door when she cooks." Connor sat upright when he remembered that. "Locks the door. Every time. Why?" Most cooks enjoyed showing their skills, but Mama Busy hid hers. Connor leaned back slowly and whispered to himself, "That woman is hiding something." Meanwhile, Mama Busy's fame continued to grow. Each day her stall became more crowded. People came from neighboring villages. Drivers passing through the highway stopped just to eat her food. Some customers even said something strange. "I tried not to come today," one man admitted. "But I could not stop thinking about that stew." Another woman laughed. "My children refuse to eat food at home now. They only want Mama Busy's rice." People joked that her food was too powerful. But no one truly believed anything strange was happening. Except Connor. Connor washed. And the more he washed, the more questions appeared in his mind. One evening, Connor made a decision. "I must see what happens inside that kitchen." That night, the market slowly emptied. The traders packed their goods. The stores closed one by one. Soon, the entire market was silent. Except for one place. Mama Busy's cooking hut. A faint orange light glowed through the wooden window. Connor approached quietly. His heart beat loudly. Thump! 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 He stepped onto a stone and slowly lifted his eyes to the window. Inside, Mama Busy stood over a large pot. The stew bubbled slowly. The smell drifted through the air. Even Connor's stomach growled. But then, Mama Busy stopped stirring. She looked around carefully. Connor froze. Then she lifted her arm. And what Connor saw next made his blood run cold. Connor stood outside the small wooden window, his fingers gripping the rough edge of the frame. Inside the hut, the fire crackled softly beneath the large iron pot. The stew bubbled slowly, releasing that same rich smell that had made Mama Busy famous across the town of Iloro. For a moment, everything looked normal. Mama Busy stirred the pot gently with a long wooden spoon. Connor's heart was beating fast, but a small part of him began to feel foolish. "Maybe I worried for nothing," he whispered to himself. But then Mama Busy suddenly stopped stirring. She placed the wooden spoon carefully beside the pot. Then she looked around the small kitchen. Slowly. Carefully. As if making sure no one was watching. Connor immediately froze. He lowered his head slightly so the shadow of the roof covered his face. After a few seconds, Mama Busy relaxed again. She turned back toward the pot. Then she lifted her arm. At first Connor did not understand what he was seeing. But as the firelight shifted, the truth became clear. Under Mama Busy's armpit was a large wound. The skin around it looked dry and cracked, as if it had been there for a long time. Connor's stomach tightened. Mama Busy leaned slightly toward the fire. Then she used her fingers to scratch gently at the wound. Small pieces of dry skin began to peel away. Connor's eyes widened. "No," he whispered under his breath. That night, Connor lay on his mat staring at the ceiling of his small room. Sleep refused to come. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the same thing. The wound. The dry skin. The stew swallowing it. Connor turned to one side. Then the other. But the images would not leave his mind. "How long?" he whispered into the darkness. "How long has she been doing this?" He remembered the first time he tasted Mama Busy's food. It had been 3 years ago. He had loved it immediately. Everyone had. Connor suddenly sat upright. What if she has been doing this from the beginning? A wave of disgust washed over him. He rushed outside and poured water over his face. Even the memory of the taste of that stew now made his stomach turn. Connor leaned against the wall of his house and looked toward the dark market road. What should I do? If he told people what he saw, they might not believe him. Mama Busy was respected, loved, trusted. But if he said nothing, the entire town would continue eating that food. Connor clenched his fist. No, he said firmly. The truth must come out. The next morning the market was as lively as ever. The sound of traders shouting their prices filled the air. Women bargained loudly over tomatoes and peppers. Children ran between the stalls laughing. And in the center of it all, Mama Busy's stall was already crowded. The smell of her stew floated through the air just like every other day. People gathered around her eagerly. Mama Busy, give me 2 plates. Add extra meat for me. Oh, I have been thinking about this stew since yesterday. Mama Busy laughed loudly as she served them. Her cheerful voice filled the market. Slow down. There is enough for everyone. Connor stood at the edge of the market watching. His stomach twisted as he saw people eating happily. They dipped their fingers into the stew. They licked their plates clean. Some even praised the taste loudly. This is the best stew in Nigeria. Connor felt a chill run down his spine. You have no idea, he whispered. Just then, Mama Busy looked up and noticed him standing there. Her face brightened. Connor, she called out. My favorite customer. The people near her laughed. Yes. Connor eats here more than anyone. Mama Busy waved at him. Come. Your usual place is waiting. Connor slowly walked toward the store. Each step felt heavier than the last. Mama Busy placed a plate of rice in front of him and poured the thick red stew on top. Eat, she said warmly. Connor stared at the food. His hands did not move. Mama Busy tilted her head. What is wrong today? Connor slowly lifted his eyes. Their gazes met. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Connor said quietly, Mama Busy, how long have you been doing it? Her smile faded slightly. Doing what? Connor leaned closer. The thing you add to the stew. Mama Busy froze. The laughter around the store continued, but between the two of them, the air suddenly felt cold. Connor's voice became firmer. I saw you last night. Mama Busy's eyes darkened. For several seconds she said nothing. Then she leaned closer to him. Her voice dropped to a whisper. So, you saw? Connor nodded slowly. Mama Busy looked around the busy market. People were eating happily, laughing, enjoying the food. Then she looked back at Connor. And to his shock, she smiled. But this smile was different. Calm. Almost amused. Tell me something, Connor, she said softly. You loved my food yesterday, didn't you? Connor clenched his jaw. That was before I knew the truth. Mama Busy's eyes held a strange light. But the taste was the same, she replied. Connor felt anger rising in his chest. You are feeding people something disgusting. Mama Busy simply shrugged. But they keep coming back. Connor stood up suddenly. The wooden bench scraped loudly against the ground. People nearby turned to look. Mama Busy folded her arms calmly. What will you do now, Connor? She asked quietly. Connor looked around at the people eating happily. Then he looked back at her. His voice rose loud enough for the nearby crowd to hear. I am going to tell everyone. The entire store slowly fell silent. Mama Busy watched him carefully. Then she leaned closer and whispered one final sentence. Go ahead. Let them decide if they still want my stew. Connor stepped onto the wooden bench. His heart pounded loudly. The entire market was about to hear the truth. And once the truth was spoken, the town of Eloro would never be the same again. Connor stood on the wooden bench. His heart pounded so loudly he could hear it in his ears. The market of Eloro was still buzzing with life around him, traders calling customers, spoons clinking against plates, laughter filling the air. But slowly, people began to notice him standing above the crowd. Connor, someone called. What are you doing up there? Mama Busy stood behind her pot of stew, watching him calmly. Her face showed no fear. No panic. Only quiet patience. Connor swallowed hard. This was the moment. If he spoke, everything would change. But if he stayed silent, the entire town would continue eating that food. Connor took a deep breath. People of Eloro, he shouted. His voice cut through the noise of the market. One by one, people turned toward him. The traders stopped shouting their prices. The customers paused with food halfway to their mouths. Even the children stopped running. What is it, Connor? An old man asked. Why are you shouting like that? Connor looked at the crowd. Many of them were still holding plates of Mama Busy's rice and stew. His stomach twisted. You all love Mama Busy's food, he said. The crowd nodded immediately. Of course. It is the best. No one cooks like Mama Busy. Mama Busy crossed her arms and leaned against her stall, watching quietly. Connor raised his voice again. But do you know what she puts in that stew? The crowd laughed. What kind of question is that? Tomatoes and pepper. Meat and fish. Mama Busy remained silent. Connor pointed directly at her. She adds something else. The laughter slowly faded. People looked at Mama Busy. Then back at Connor. What are you talking about? Someone asked. Connor's voice trembled, but he forced the words out. I saw her cooking last night. The crowd grew quieter. She has a wound under her armpit. A few people frowned. What does that have to do with the food? Connor's chest tightened. Then he shouted the words that would change everything. She scrapes the dead skin from that wound and puts it inside the stew. For a moment, the entire market froze. No one moved. No one spoke. It was as if the wind itself had stopped breathing. Then suddenly, what? A woman dropped her plate. The metal dish clattered loudly against the ground. That cannot be true. Another man spat his food onto the dirt. You are lying. Connor pointed again at Mama Busy. Ask her. All eyes turned toward the famous food seller. Mama Busy slowly straightened her wrapper. Then she lifted her arm. Gasps erupted from the crowd. The wound was there. Large. Dry. Exactly as Connor had described. A young woman screamed. Some people immediately threw their food away. Others began wiping their tongues in disgust. One man bent over and started vomiting beside a stall. You fed us that, he shouted angrily. Another woman cried out. My children eat this food every day. The market erupted into chaos. People shouted. Plates crashed onto the ground. Customers backed away from Mama Busy's stall as if it were dangerous. But Mama Busy herself did not move. She stood beside her pot calmly, watching the panic spread. Connor stared at her in disbelief. How can you stand there like this? He demanded. You poisoned the whole town. Mama Busy finally spoke. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. Poison. She looked around the market slowly. Did anyone die? The crowd fell silent again. Her question hung in the air. You told travelers to come taste the best cooking in Iloro. Her eyes settled on Connor. And you, she added softly. You ate more than anyone. Connor felt his face burn with anger. That was before we knew the truth. Mama Busy tilted her head. But the taste was the same. The crowd murmured nervously. Some people looked down at the empty plates in their hands. Others wiped their mouths again. Mama Busy raised her voice slightly. Yesterday you loved my stew. Today you hate it. What changed? No one answered. Finally, the town elder lifted his walking stick. Enough. His voice carried authority. This matter will be judged. He pointed toward Mama Busy. You will close your stall immediately. Mama Busy did not argue. She simply covered the pot with its lid. The elder turned toward the crowd. Tonight the council will meet.